Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 15 Washington quarters with the eagle reverse. Now, these are going to be struck from 1965 to 1998. We're going to be focused on Clad, or supposed to be Clad quarters, and we've got a top 15 list, but we're going to start off with our honorable mention, which is the spitting eagle. This is effectively, it looks just like the eagle is spitting. These are frequently found on the 1983 P quarter. It's almost like a die crack as the dies struck a bunch of coins. The planchets, these are hot pieces of metal smashing into each other. Sometimes those dies wear down, and when they break off or chip a little bit, this is sort of the result of that. So this is not going to be crazy valuable. Some of the ones are going to really kick up a notch quite a bit because there are some incredible things to look for closely on your quarters. So we're going to start number 15 with the 1971D double die reverse. Basically, for those of you that don't know, when coins are struck, they're struck from a die, as I mentioned earlier. Those dies often were sunk by a master die multiple times to leave a good impression that can then be inverted onto the coin. And so that process, sometimes when they sink the dies a couple of different times, they're not exactly on top of each other, and normally that's corrected and they're not going to be produced when they're this doubled. But in this case, we're able to find a die that then was doubled, struck a couple hundred, couple thousand, who knows how many coins it would have struck with this clear shelving. And so you're going to see that really in the bottom lettering all along quarter dollar, but you can see again all the shelving through the lettering. And they sell in circulating condition for $1,000, so it's a pretty valuable coin. Going to be a good mix of doubled dies and errors. And in this example, number 14, we're going to see 1970D. A lot of these doublings were going to be sort of those early years, especially call it like 68 to 71. Here you can see clear split serifs. Sometimes there's machine doubling, and that's not the same thing. That's almost where the coin's going to move during the strike, but this is the actual die is going to strike hundreds or thousands of the exact same variety coin. And so you can also see those shelving right in the hooks of the 7, the bottom a little bit of a wider 9, but really split serifs in the 1, split serifs in the 7, and this is a 4-figure coin as well in decent shape. 1971, again, this was 70D, this is 71, something similar, and in nice condition they can sell for crazy premiums. I think the strongest shelving on this one is going to be found in the A, but you can see it on the insides, the outsides of the Q, the R, the T, really all along. Number 12 is going to be our first error. This is just an awesome coin. It's a brockage. It was also somehow struck on a nickel planchet, but what happened is a quarter that had already been struck was stuck to the top of one of the dies, or I guess the bottom one, and then it was stuck to that die, but the die continued to hammer future coins, and so that ended up impressing the inverse of the already struck quarter onto the reverse of this one. But the craziest thing about it is that it seems like it was already, like you can see the QUAR underneath. So just totally bizarre goings on. Over $4,000. This is not one that you're going to find in your pocket change, but I had to bring it up. This one, on the other hand, is a perfect error that you could find. This one was details, so either it's cleaned or it's scratched, but it was struck on a silver planchet. 1976, 200th anniversary after 1776. They make a bunch of 40% silver planchet coins. However, some of those planchets escaped and then were struck with 1977 dies the following year out in Denver. This is the result of that, and nobody caught that this was a rare coin until it had circulated a bit. So it's a great reminder that things can exist out there in change. We might not be using coins quite as much these days, but you never know what you can find, and that's one that I really highlight. Number 10, this is neither a pocket change coin nor a crazy rare error that you could never find. It's the doubled die. This is the very nicest example, though. There are some other ones that are in worse shape that are going to be worth a bit less than this, but in 1990 proof sets, you can look, and I know somebody who's found these, one of my good friends. You can see some of the doubling in the serifs in the 1, all through the coin, but I think it's especially going to be found on the date, and this is a pretty minor doubling, but the proof coins were struck specially for collectors, so it's a bit extra special that they ended up having one of these double die issues. And The deep cameo refers to having a very frosty device, so like Washington's face and the lettering, and then the fields are very mirrory. And again, $7,000, no small feat. This speaks to some of the craziness going on at the mint. This was certainly mint interference. You can see the undertype of a Barber quarter, which I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, 1892 to 1916 was when they would have struck that type. But they struck a proof, so again, prepared for collector's coin, right on top of it, and you can see some of that undertype, especially with the eagle's talon holding the arrows and the leaf. Over $7,000 coin, probably a bit illicit, and we tied for number 9 because there's also one struck on a George V. He would have been, again, correct me if I'm wrong, 1910 to 1936, ruling after King Edward VII, who comes after Victoria. George VI then is after the 5th, and then we get Queen Elizabeth. Here's another one, a very special double die. Again, sometimes they're going to be worth a bit less, but in this example, this is a very nice coin. Mint State 66 was cherry picked, and the shelving is really strong on this one. It would have the drummer boy reverse, but you're going to see the shelving most clearly in the Liberty on top of the coin. Pretty classic American type, and it has air, and it's in great condition, or not air, excuse me, variety. It's an important distinction. That gets us at number 8, and again, very findable for people that are checking for them. Number 7, again, total opposite, a mated error pair. These coins were struck together. You can tell that these coins, it's rare to be able to find error coins because it often will impact more than one coin if it's a pretty big error, where that error pair stuck together. And so on this example, and a lot of the tomfoolery, again, this is 1969, 1970s when you had those coins struck on some crazy planchets, and we'll see what else is in this presentation. Here's another example. This one was struck on a washer. So sometimes people, there's coins struck on a nail, feeder finger coins. Some of those seem legit. Others of them are questionable. This one's pretty interesting, but I love how you can see the S mint mark really clearly and the face of the drummer boy. $9,600 was what this one fetched, and the protocols are a lot tighter today. There's not as much of these crazy things coming out. This one is really awesome. 1968S Washington quarter. Somehow this was struck on a silver planchet. It's not even like they were striking 40% coins in 1968. Sure, they were doing that on half dollars, but that wouldn't have necessarily translated here. So we really don't understand what happened, and I think that this one is like a total highlight. Super, super interesting. And again, over $10,000, quite a lot of cash to go back in somebody's pocket. And I want to figure out, how did people understand that this was actually silver? That's where I'm a bit more suspicious. This one is the classic. So we talked about the 1977. This one sold for about $15,000. It circulated. It's an AU shape, but this was a 1965 Washington quarter. What people don't know is that they were actually striking coins backdated with 90% silver planchets to 1964 in 65 and 66, so it's much more understandable how this sort of thing would happen. I'm amazed that there's not more of them out there. In 1964, we go off and we stop producing, or having coins dated to 64, I should say, in 90% silver in favor of a clad kind of copper-nickel composition. Number 3, this one's unique because it's struck on an amusement park token, but it's not like from those early 70s. It's from 1983. Just something interesting. You can see the undertype. It says like, "This is my lucky day." And I'm just reading it here. I didn't do any crazy research on it, but there's very few of these types of coins, and legal tender. Who knows how that one happened, but this one stands out. Again, it made it to number 3 on the list, and we're going to have some crazy number 2 and number 1. This one is absolutely awesome. It's just struck with 2 reverse dies. So it's a 2-tailed quarter. It sold for $40,000. I don't know where it is. I don't know who owns it, but it's one of the coins where if you say, what are the craziest quarter errors out there, this has got to make the list. You can see one has a much stronger strike than the other. I don't know exactly where the indent would be occurring. Maybe it's like down there, or exactly how it happened, but whatever happened, they put together 2 dies that should have been, should have had obviously Washington's face on one, but they got the 2 Taylor. I've only heard of one of these being out there. I'd be curious to see if a couple other made it out. Again, $40,000 coin, and you'll be shocked by number 1, which is back to 1970, but this time they struck it on an 1898 $5 coin. Now that is one of the mysteries in terms of how do we actually know that this thing is an 1898? And I'm sure that if you can do some kind of analysis and figure out I doubt that it was the person, because the mint employee would get in a lot of trouble if they had declared it. But I'm sure that in one of these fields here, if you rotate it at the right light, because you can't see it easily from this side, you could discern that this is in fact a coin that garnered $100,000 or so. If you see anything that looks gold and it's a quarter, you're probably going to be running into a fake coin. But this one checked all the tests, and they probably saw that 1970S and said, all right, whoever did that with the quarter, they also had a pretty cool gold coin up there, in their collection that they decided to strike along with the 1907 Barber quarter. And so this is what happened. But gotta keep researching these. They're super interesting. I love talking about them and seeing just the crazy things that people have done, whether intentional, quasi-intentional, or totally an error or variety that just slipped past the mint who takes their craft really seriously. Love talking about these. Have a fantastic evening, day, and keep on hunting. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to head on over to treasuretown.com and sign up for our email list to stay up to date on everything that's happening, whether it's auction updates, exciting new inventory drops, coin collecting news, or general informational resources. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on another one.